Hello, AP Psychology students. Welcome to your first video. Um, as I will discuss, or as I discussed maybe earlier today, this is a flipped classroom concept class, meaning the majority of your lecture and your materials will come via this through video. That you'll be watching at home. You also have some readings to do at home and some notes to do at least after school. It doesn't necessarily have to be at home, I guess. But the majority of the material will be coming to you by video outside of class. What that does is that it frees us up to do more fun things actually in class while we're together. It'll allow me to free some things up as we kind of roll through the course. Today, what we're going to do is look at the syllabus a bit more in depth. We'll talk about it in class, but I want to make sure that you and maybe even your parents, if they're sitting down to watch this, will want to see what we're doing in class, take a look at the syllabus, and we'll kind of go on from there. So again, welcome to AP Psychology, and this is going to be a good year. So what we have at the top, obviously, is who I am. If you don't know me, I'm Coach River or Mr. River, either one. I've got my school email address on here, the school phone, and my current class web page I'm using right now. One of the web pages that the district provides. I do have a lot of the PowerPoint notes that I've used are on there, as well as a lot of other source material, I guess you could say. Some notes and some different things are on there as well. But that is my class web page. I would get on it and then bookmark it as much as you can. Whatever computers or whatever devices you're going to use during the class, definitely I'd go ahead and bookmark it. There will be a Google Classroom page as well. That is still in development. I'm not sure when that's going to be fully operational, at least by the time that this video is being done, which is during the summer of 2017. It is not done as of yet. There's a few things on there, but there's not a whole lot on there right now. But there will be, and I'll make sure you all know that and can access that as time gets there. I'm not going to read you the course description. You all will get this, and you can read it yourself. It's AP Psychology, and we'll talk about what that means once we get into the course. I do want to commend you for taking on this challenge. This will be a difficult course. There will be a lot of work, but it is an extreme. The stuff that we learn is really just some cool stuff. Stuff you can you'll definitely be able to use as we go on. Really, in almost all of your learning from here on out, especially when we get to the learning chapter. There's a lot of cool stuff to know. But this is a difficult course work-wise. There's a lot of work in it, but it is also one of the more fun courses you'll take because the stuff we learn is so cool. I do want to talk about, though, the course requirements on here. As I had mentioned earlier, and as I probably already talked about in class the first day, this is a flipped classroom model. In this model, the students will do the majority of their lecture work at home, usually via YouTube videos, online watch guides, and Google Classroom or other classroom platforms, as well as other reading assignments. This frees us up in class for further explanation, for experiments, for other videos we can watch, and is also discussions. This is a very heavy online course. And so it is for you to take this course, it is required that you have online access somewhere other than school, after school. Because the building may not always be open. It may be, but I would at least have some sort of reliable internet access either at home or at the library or maybe at a grandparent's or a friend's house, because you will be doing online stuff probably 3 to 4 nights a week. So just again, need to make sure that we have not only internet access but reliable internet access. The textbook is Psychology, Themes, and Variations, the briefer version by Wayne Wheaton, or Whiten. I think it's Wheaton. There will be some other course materials that I will assign as we roll through. I do want you to keep a notebook to keep your notes, because we will refer back to those a lot. You'll need some loose leaf paper. That was my boy. He's watching Lego Batman. Zeke, you need to be quiet. Sorry. Where was I? Oh, you'll need some loose leaf paper for some short assignments that we'll do, maybe some brainstorming activities, and of course, writing utensils and highlighters. I'm not going to go into that a whole lot because you all are AP students. I expect a little more out of you than generally a non-AP student. There are some suggested readings on here. We're going to talk a lot about Sigmund Freud in the class, especially when you get to psychoanalysis and some of the early theories on why we do what we do. A very good book on that is called The Question of God. It is by C.S. Lewis. No, I'm sorry. No, it is by Armand Nicolai Jr. He is a professor at Harvard, I believe. And the book basically takes two opposing views. That would be the views of Sigmund Freud, and then also the views of C.S. Lewis. Now, C.S. Lewis was not a psychologist, but he did dabble in the ideas of why do we do what we do. Of course, he looks at it from a Christian perspective. Freud looks at why we do what we do from an atheistic perspective and from a purely humanistic or psychoanalytical perspective. It's a very good book. It gives you, I really like it because the book really doesn't take a stance one way or the other. It just presents the arguments and gets a little bit into the background information of maybe why they thought what they thought. But it is a pretty good book. Last year I required it. This year I'm not going to because we just didn't have time to get to it. That's probably going to be the case this year, but I would suggest reading it. It is a very good book. And then the second one is a book called Drive by Daniel Pink. That looks into motivation, what motivates us to do what we do. It looks at intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations. It's a pretty good book as well, especially if you're thinking about getting into business. He advocates for changing our entire way of how we set up our businesses. But we'll get into that a little later. Because we will bring some of this stuff into class when we get to the chapter on motivation. Class policies, I reserve the right to modify or change the syllabus as I deem necessary. So there may be things pop up that we just have to take care of to make the class go smoother, and I reserve the right to be able to do that. And it's my classroom, and I get to do that. General expectations, you need to be here to succeed. I think last year, the first period, I had this class first period, and we had some issues with attendance. And it showed. This year, I think they moved it back in the day a bit, so there should be no excuse. You need to be here to do well. With that said, it is helpful that a lot of the stuff is going to be online. But in order to get some of the nuances of what we're talking about for the classroom discussions are going to be very valuable when you're trying to grasp around, because we're going to be throwing stuff at you very quickly, and you will seem overwhelmed at first. That's why that in-class time is useful to sort of get everything where you're supposed to be, at least in your head. So the other thing is just, we're going to be debating some things, and you all are not going to be thinking the same thing as the person next to you. We just expect, politeness, courteousness, being respectful. You don't have to believe each other's opinions to respect it. So a little further down, cheating and plagiarism, I have zero tolerance for that. This is an AP class. You need to be doing AP work. That is not highlighting from Wikipedia. It is not, copying and pasting from Wikipedia. It is not rephrasing a Wikipedia page and then using the sources from the Wikipedia page. I will want to know where you got the information, when you got the information, how you got the information, the exact spot, so that I can go and look at that exact spot to tell me where you got your info. So you need to be very meticulous in your citing of your sources, because cheating really makes me upset. I've already gone over this. Students will be responsible for the reading and studying the text. While much of the text will be discussed in class, some of it will be covered through independent learning, especially since we're going to this flipped classroom model. Everything in the book has the possibility to be on the AP exam, so you are expected to study all of it. We will do a comprehensive midterm on before Christmas, and we will do a comprehensive final. Well, your AP exam is actually a comprehensive final event. So you will have to know everything from this first week that you're looking at this all the way through. So, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But you've got to keep up with your daily reading or the daily watching of these videos in order to succeed. Sorry about that. Again, use your course textbook. We will be, here's a little snippet on this. We will be watching some documentaries. We'll be watching some movies. We'll be watching some video clips that really give you an idea of what we're looking at. And here is a short list of some of the ones we may use. We didn't use all of them last year, but they are on here. And there may be some that we watch that are not on here. This is not an exhaustive list. If for any reason your parents, so parents, if you're watching this, have an issue with using some of these movies, or maybe some movies that are not listed on here for an educational purpose, then you need to write down your concerns on the very end of the syllabus. The syllabus is going to have a parent signature page that I want you to sign to show that you've either watched this or that your student has shown you the syllabus. So if there's any issues, I guess, any reservations, please note that on the signature page. Okay. Remember, these are all educational based, and it's usually we will not watch the whole movie because the whole movie does not really help us and diving into maybe what the characters are doing or why they're doing what they're doing. So for instance, The Office, it's one of my favorite shows, but we're not going to sit and watch an entire episode of The Office because it's just not going to pertain to it. But there are different clips that we show that really illustrates things like conditioning and things like that. Something of note about essay writing. The College Board, when you all take your tests, only grades work that is done in black or blue ink. And it needs to be dark blue. It can't be the light, I guess, the really light blue. It's a dark blue, something like this, or a black. So to sort of get you ready for that, if you turn anything in, especially writings like that, they need to be in dark blue or black ink. And most of the papers we will do will either be typed, or if it's just like the AP exam, like if it's a free FRQ, free response question, then it will need to be in dark blue or black ink. No red, no green, no light blue, no purple, or anything like that. Okay. Big thing on electronic devices. I know everybody's wondering about what the policy is for each one of the classes. Mine is based on psychological research. So I will not budge on this because I'm just not going to. But you'll find out on the chapter on learning that students, including post-millennials, you all, who actually write things down, not type or take pictures. That was an issue last year. People wanted to just take pictures of the lecture material. That will not work this year. When you write things down, you retain the information much better. Research has shown this and shown this and shown this and shown this again. So I will not allow you to use any electronic devices to snap notes, pictures of notes, because that doesn't do anything for anybody. So you will need to write down the notes. As such, we will not use electronic devices on a regular basis. We may allow them in certain situations as we move through the year. Generally, that'll be with research. If we're going to do research in class, I may allow some electronic devices such as laptops, iPads, or anything like that. I will not allow iPhones. I will not allow really any phones. No cellular phones are allowed to be used during class at all. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Phones will actually need to be powered down during class. If somebody, and parents, I want you to hear this, if somebody needs to contact you, including parents, you need to call the office, 845-6601, and that message can be relayed through the office. But during my class time, that is my time, and so I'm going to be very strong on this, especially at first, because I don't want to get into a scenario where I let one person, 2 weeks down the road, and then somebody else, it's just not going to happen. So turn your phones off when you come into class, put them in your pocket or your backpack or whatever. Again, we may use laptops, iPads, or some other tablets for research purposes, but that's going to be it. And if you plan on using your iPhone or other smartphone in class, I will not allow it. It'll be up to whatever the school policy is at that point, which I believe is confiscation and taken to the office. So just keep that in mind. No phones at all. Electronic devices at my discretion. Okay? I hope we are clear. And that's pretty much all I want to talk about today. Should be understood from the beginning of this course that the expectations of this class are consistent with those of any AP course. Students should expect a workload similar to that of a college-level course. This will involve extensive reading, not every night, but most nights, active participation in class discussions and activities, things like taking notes, completing projects, research, etc., etc. So this class is probably no harder than any other AP class. It's probably on par. So expect that. The next part of the syllabus is basically just the FCHS grading policy. I'm not going to go over that because it's online and it's probably in all of the classes, so I will not go over that really at all. Here's the course plan. I actually have these dates down. I believe this is right here. I don't have it on the syllabus yet, but I will. That's not it. So, of course, the first day of class, we'll start on Chapter 1, just to give you an idea. On August 11th, we will test on that on August 18th. We will start Chapter 2 on August 21st, and test on that on August 31st. And we will start Chapter 3 on September 1st and test over Chapter 3 on September 23rd. When I hand this out, the syllabus, I will have all of the dates on there. The other good thing about doing a flipped classroom is that this allows me, basically, everything is going to stay the same. It won't matter how many days we miss for snow or like last year's sickness or flooding, like what we've had this summer. It's really not going to matter. All of the coursework will pretty much be online in the form of these videos and any assignments that are going to be through the Google page. I will set up a remind for this class to sort of help get some of information out. I don't have all the videos done yet, so as one gets posted, I'll send it out as we move through there. So, but all of these dates that I will hand out on the syllabus will be posted on here, and they are not going to change. So the only change might be if we are out on a test day for whatever reason in class. I probably won't do that test online. That may throw things off a little bit. What I may do is have you start the next chapter at home. And then we'll do the test when we come back, and then we'll kind of get caught up like that. But other than that, everything's pretty much set. All of the dates, all the assignments, and it's just going to be getting them uploaded and labeled and all that stuff. So, and that'll be helpful for you all. You'll get to see what's due when. I'll have a calendar up on my Google Classrooms page. You'll see the calendar. You'll see what's due when. You check it every day, every morning, every evening, and you'll know exactly where you are and what's due at times and all that stuff. But here are the chapters we're going to do. First chapter is the evolution of psychology. We'll look at history and approaches. Chapter 2 is on research methods, things like that. Chapter 3, we'll get into the biological basis of behavior. Chapter 4 is we'll look at sensation and perception, how we perceive the world around us. Chapter 5, we'll look at states of consciousness, daydreaming, hypnosis, things like that. Chapter 6, we'll hit learning. We'll look at conditioning, animals, people, how we learn best, and you'll get to see why during this section where I get my cell phone policy. Chapter 7, we'll look at human memory. Chapter 8, cognition and intelligence, how we think, why we think, how we measure intelligence, problem solving, all that stuff. This second semester is probably not correct. I can check right now. Yeah, it is correct. So that'll be all first semester, and then there will be a end of semester comprehensive exam sometime in here. When we come back from Christmas break, we'll hit motivation and emotion, what drives us to do different things. Chapter 10 will be human development, looking at the different stages as we grow up. 11, we'll look at personality. 12, social behavior. Social psych is a very fun chapter. 13, we look at stress and health and how stress affects us. 14, we'll look at psychological disorders, things like schizophrenia, dissociative personality disorder, mood disorders, eating disorders, things like that. We just look at psychological disorders. And then the last chapter will be the treatment of those disorders. What are psychologists doing to treat these disorders? The final exam, if you do not take the AP exam, I think this is going to be the case across the board for most classes, your AP exam will be your final. However, if you do choose to not take the AP exam, then you will have an in-class final for me, and that will, go into your grade. So the right as of now, and I don't think this is going to change, the test date is actually not May 2nd. I believe it is May 7th, 2018. As you can tell, I've still got to do some proofreading of these. But I believe it's that Monday, May 7th. Wait. So there you go. And of course, here is the parent and student signature. I will need all of these returned to show that you've either watched the video or that you have seen this, that you look at the cell phone policy, and as we move on from there. So anyways, I appreciate you watching this. This is going to be a good class. I'll post Chapter 1 lectures here in the next little bit. Until then, peace out.